witnessed the strength of street knowledge.
The willingness to speak truth.
I always want to do something. I always want to help my people.
Yeah!
I've been listening to the lies made up by the federal government, mainstream media.
I'm gonna tell them what.
Ain't right, man, ain't right.
You know what I mean?
I think it's time for you to hear the truth.
Tell the truth, man.
Every nation, in every region, now has a decision to make.
Hey yo, they don't like my songs. Bush came to my yard, he wants to take me on. Phone the most high, I'm like, yo, it's on. Devil's in my face, Pop, don't be long.
All you need is spice and show. Have no fear, my son, my kingdom you will own. 400 years, no knowledge of your home. Now is your chance to reclaim your throne.
Okay, Pop, yeah, no doubt. I'll buzz you back once I've taken him out. But he reckons I got weapons, what's he talking about? I don't like the way the devil's running his mouth.
Don't watch that, it's just an excuse. See, they don't like you, son, cause you tell the truth.
Hey, yo, Pop, United Nations turned up. They wanna search my yard till I them up.
Nah, son, you leave them to me. Now you deal with that caution, collie, pow, fassy. I got fire for the bad side for those who oppose me. Hurricane, tornadoes, earthquakes, you'll see.
Exodus, the devil we no like. So we left from Rome upon the star line. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So we left upon the black star line. Exodus, the devil we no like. So we left from Rome upon the star line. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So we left upon the black star line.
I'm interested in the truth, and the truth is what I will pursue.
We have to recognize who our major enemy is.
The biggest challenge before you right now is, who is the enemy?
Life is becoming increasingly miserable for everybody. But when they find out who it is, it's causing trouble.
I will tell you what the mainstream media will not tell you.
That the Jewish people control the media.
People need to get out of denial very quickly, because your children are being poisoned, you're being poisoned, children are being indoctrinated and programmed and turned into software programs at school, you're being poisoned in the air, you've been poisoned from the sky, poisoned in your food, poisoned in your water, poisoned by vaccine. How bad does it have to get before people in vast numbers realize that the world ain't like they thought it was?
I'm talking to you. The principle and the idea was divide and rule, divide and conquer. $1 billion a week spent on war. 15 million Americans are homeless in the street. We can build Iraq and Afghanistan, but leave you with nothing.
You have to come together. There has to be a foundation of unity before you to get anywhere, especially if you're black in this country.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing else.
I want you to hear me. Speak the truth regardless of circumstance and stand up on the truth from the cradle to the grave.
The rebels on some dirty way. Yo, the murder was the case they gave. And it was just the other day when they stepped out the caucus man in cage. The murder's undercover blood. But guess what? They slipped up. The people are starting to wake up, and as soon as we get together, they ain't here to apologize for the outcry while we're on the genocide. Till today, from the time we arrived, Mother Africa is still dripping blood from her eyes. Ain't super turning around my words. I'ma tell the truth till it hurts. And I'ma keep spreading love to the peace. But right now, I'ma drop the truth on the verse. And I'ma dismiss unrighteousness. My backside, they can kiss, they can't handle this. I got a long list of brains with power fists who insist government's taking a piss.
Exodus, the devil we no like. So we left from Rome upon the star line. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So we left on the black star line. Exodus, the devil we no like. So we left from Rome upon the star line. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So we left on the black star line.
Come, let me bust the things for all you hustling. I might scuff your Tims how I'm busting in the fight. I'm struggling on some other thing. Head wrap and skull cap, I call my brother king. Wagwanin and you know that. It's like a prison wing how we keep the show pack. I don't hold back. Radio, play my whole track. Most cats listen close as phone taps. There's no black in the Union Jack. Britain flows pierce ears like guns with studs in them. Count bars like you're stuck in prison. Count scars on a body that's slug ridden. It's the fusion of the E's, brews and ganja, giving these youths delusions of grandeur. And only a few who've left to have a stretch on the psychiatric wing return to the manor. I'm the one that rap for them people suffering. Try function in a world that's got no love for them. Enough of them would rather vote for Big Brother than vote for them hypocrites that's in the government. Well, f them then. It's Emmanuel and Brother Ben.
Yeah. Exodus, the
Built into your entire life. If there's something wrong with the world, you don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind.
You think the US don't have weapons of mass destruction?
You know this is gonna work. It's a general idea. With who?
I'm working on it.
Greetings, Jumbo or Tech Peace Salamo. This is Ferferity Radio. My name is Sayshara. I'm here for the next couple of hours till 6 p.m. from 3 till 6 p.m. So I want to big up Freestyle and the young brother Sam, who's been here for the last couple of hours, keeping you entertained, busy, and informative. So, before I say anything more, I want to say, right, willing that you're in good health, in the best of spirits, and life is treating you well under the circumstances. And I know for a lot of people out there, we're going to talk about different things around how we are using our coping mechanisms and how we're working together collectively within the family structure, and just think about the things that we can do to sort of improvise around these very things that we're affected by. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of things going on, and no doubt there's going to be a lot of stories out there for people out there. And yeah, I feel like from this time onwards, I feel it's going to be a learning process or learning developing process for a lot of people that will have to readjust their lives, okay, or you know, the way that we live in our lives and things like that, the way we socializing. Obviously, we're not able to socialize in the way that we generally do or want to, and obviously there's all kinds of restrictions that's going on out there that limits us from being able to socialize or relate with people that we normally generally do on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so again, I've discussed, touched on and talked about, obviously we're going to have to look at the psychological effects and the emotional effects and what is going to be the aftermath of all of this that's happening with this whole so-called pandemic or pandemic event that the whole planet Earth is facing right now and having to deal with. So I'm here, I'm going to be talking, it's going to be around some of the things that people are concerned about. But before I say anything more, I want to pay a big tribute to this wonderful brother, a great brother, who recently passed away. And I'm going to be just give a little insight into talking about brother Dougie Williams, who is a great brother, is a wonderful brother, very, very lovely, gracious, kind and warm and sincere, and so many different things. There's so many different peoples out there. But on my journey with brother Dougie, what I can say he's a brother from North London. I can't remember exactly how we actually met up, but I do remember actually interviewing him and Brother Jam, his sparring partner, on another radio station platform called Genesis. And from there, I got more and more familiar with this brother that does a lot of wonderful work in our communities in London, and you know that energy is spread across the country in England. So, you know, he used to come over to South London. He used to get all over the place. That's just Dougie, very active in that way, and he introduced me and others from South London to come over to North London, and we kind of shared our time, our energy and resources in that way, and as you know, built up a relationship, and we just continue to build on that relationship and the things that we can do in our communities to help support and to provide and protect our people in the best way possible. And see, he was a warrior, a true-born warrior, and he's passed away as a true-born warrior, honourable. And, you know, condolences goes out to his family and friends and people that knew him around the times that we spent with him. And obviously our hearts and minds goes out to the energy of Brother Dougie Williams and how that energy was transferred to each and every one of us that was touched by this Brother Dougie Williams. And the energy and the aura and his whole way of being was one that showed love, togetherness, collectiveness, building, empowering, and uplifting, and so many great things that I'd have to spend a lot of time to go through it. So Brother Dougie would bring in people, do a lot of presentations from the people from across the country, across other countries, maybe America or the Caribbean or wherever, Africa. He'd bring a lot of people and basically connect people, you know, bring that vibration and energy that is a part of us rebuilding ourselves and improving ourselves and our condition and the environment and our quality of life and all the great things that we need to continue to do. So yeah, definitely a big tribute goes out to our brother Dougie Williams, who recently passed away and is going to be transitioning to the ancestral realm, where we're all going to go one day in time. So life is really, really short for us on this planet Earth. Okay, unfortunately, we haven't got a lot of time to do the things that we need to do. But we should always remember those people that's come and gone, those people that's done the work, laid down the foundation, laid down the bricks, the mortar, the cement, the framework for us to continue to do the best that we possibly can to help each and every one of us here as a group of people, as a nation of people, as Black African people, as people of African origins, African heritage, African ancestry. We know we are descendants from the motherland called Africa, and that we always center ourselves around where we originate from. So our warm feelings and our minds goes out to our brother Dougie. Now, just going back to talking about the situation that we find in ourselves, we're not able to control. In some ways, it's an opportunity for those people. When I talk about those people, I'm talking about governments wanting to dictate to us laws without being challenged or questioned, or even being, that they should come to the common law people and consult certain types of actions that is going to affect the whole nation. Okay, and then you're going to get I feel that you get a balanced type of way of how we need to do things as a collective, rather than you just got one small, tiny fraction of our society dictating to us laws and policies. Because of an emergency situation, they say, another group saying over there, well, because this is happening, and yeah, we do have to protect ourselves, and obviously anybody's loss of life is something that shouldn't happen. It's not necessary and it's not called for, and obviously we need to protect lives, people's health and well-being, and that's fundamental. The only problem is that we don't have a system that operates to its fullest potential to actually give people on this planet Earth the kind of health and well-being that should be actually put in place, infrastructures put in place to be able to make sure everybody, regardless of what class they are, because I think that in this situation that we're presently in, obviously the poorest of people will be the ones that's going to be suffering the most. Okay, and then if you look at as an individual, that's the reality. And if you look at country by countries, every country out there has a level of how they conduct their everyday lives, their way of governing their lives. Okay, and so economics is an important factor that comes into play. And what type of resources those countries have available to them comes into play. So obviously a lot of poor countries that are lacking in resources for one reason or the other, they're probably going to be, if taking these extreme measures, which I don't really agree with, and I kind of touched on that. And anything that you want to talk about, obviously this is a place to be able to do that, to express yourself and give us your feelings and your thoughts, your experiences. It's not about me and what I'm saying. Sayshara is here to mediate, to facilitate, to conversate around whatever you want to talk about that you feel that's necessary to inform people around, or to share things with, or just give us your personal thoughts. You can look at things as an individual level, or you can look at things on a collective level, or from a level you come from a great nation of people. And the numbers, just to remind those, I'm going to big up any new listeners out there. I want to say thank you for taking the time to join me here today on a sunny, lovely day. The numbers are 073 054 17668. Send me a text and let me know how I'm sounding, if I'm good to go. So I'm looking at what's happening to the elderly. There's two things that's concerning me right now. I'm sure there's loads of things that people are concerned about. I think primarily you're probably concerned about being able to go to the services to get whatever things that you want to get done, and those services are not available to you, so you may feel a little bit frustrated about that. But I want to just touch on talking about the elderly. and how the situation is working out for them, because the way the message is coming out primarily from the government about how elderly are being isolated now, they've kind of changed their tune a little bit and saying, well, yeah, if you got to go and support somebody, then go and do that. Yeah. So they're having to relax their laws, okay, because obviously you can't be too rigid around certain things. Obviously, yeah, you're talking about protecting everybody's, health and well-being, and you put certain countermeasures in place to do that, and you expect people to follow those guidelines, etc., etc. But if you get too rigid now, where people are not allowed to still socialize and relate and do certain things, okay, then it's going to cause a problem. And I feel like elderly people need as much support as possible. Do we have systems and infrastructures in place to cater for the needs of the elderly under these emergency circumstances that will guarantee that they're going to be well looked after? So there is another side to where elderly people can be looked at as undesirables. And that's the thing that in some cases I'm hearing out there. And it's not the first time I'm hearing things like that. There's things like, that obviously the elderly, they're not, people sort of, how can I put it? Well, put them in a class again, categorizing them. And it's a broad generalization that's kind of given to say that elderly people are non-productive, for example. They say, oh, elderly people are non-productive, and basically they don't have no purpose and all of this stuff. They're not going to be a valuable asset, so to speak. So therefore, we don't need elderly people around. You know what I'm saying? And there's this kind of attitude that is a small sense of things that's happening out there, but there's this kind of attitude. It's not a great thing, but it's a sort of attitude that elderly people, even in the health service industry, okay, that are looked down on, right? And sometimes even go to some levels to be abused, and even being taken out. There's malpractices that goes on all the time, okay, and sometimes we need to look at that. And so, there's people got real bad attitudes of how they need to treat people in everyday life, in the way that where they're working, in the environment they're working, that you've got people that just don't have the good attitude to be able to work with people on a level where that they're not going to be causing harm, physical harm or emotional harm or psychological harm on people, elderly people who are generally, not all elderly people, but generally, just like young people, are vulnerable. Okay? And you always get people who think they're strong mentally and physically and all of that, and economically and all of this stuff that goes on, that feel that because they're strong, they get a sense of strength in them, that they feel that they can take advantage of people because they're weaker or they're vulnerable or susceptible and stuff like that. This goes on with the individual mentality as well as on a country to country basis mentality. This store behavior that shouldn't be happening, but it's happening. So I just want people to just take notice that the elderly people are very important assets to our community. Okay, I'm even getting there myself, right? So, elderly people are very, very valuable to our communities. The elderly people that actually bring us in there to this planet Earth, okay? You know what I'm saying? They actually built everything and done everything. You see what I'm saying? And this is at the time of their lives when they need the most peace, the most harmony, and the best service that they possibly can get, regardless of what country you're in. And that's the type of service and infrastructure that we need to have in place in all countries, especially in the developing, lesser developing countries and the developing countries. And the developed countries, what you find is that there's a lot of selfishness that goes on with these developed countries, these industrialized, developed countries. They've got everything already. They got the infrastructures. They got everything in place, where other countries don't have a lot of that stuff. Right? And these same top level countries around the globe, they need to share some of what they've got to help those lesser countries or the developing countries, or allow them to be able to develop themselves, more importantly, because I think what's been happening a lot of the times is that a lot of countries claim to say they're going to help these lesser developing countries, and it's just a lot of sound bites, because at the end of the day, they're not going there to help those countries. They're going there to exploit them. And those countries never, ever get developed. And it's just perpetuated from decade to decade, not just year to year. It's been going on for decades, right? So we've got a system in place which is very, very classist. It's all about, you know, I need to help myself, Jack. And if you can't help yourself, then that's your problem. Deal with that. But it's all right. We can come into your country and exploit you and do whatever we want with you. That's all right, though, right? So there's you know, as far as I'm seeing it, there's so much imbalances on this planet Earth, okay, that, you know, the people, the ruling classes, elite that control the tentacles of this system and how it operates and functions and how it gets people to operate and function, they know exactly what they're doing. They've got plans that they prepared, right, for this planet Earth. It's a global plan, right? And the people are very well organized, and they use the technology to their best advantage. And I think that a lot of people around the world, okay, generally speaking, are poor, right? Are poor. There's only two classes, rich and poor, right? And what's in between, what people refer to as middle class, really, there isn't a really middle class, is there? It's just that you want to, you know, that the system that's been around for hundreds of years, where it's hierarchical, and the class structure allows certain members of the what you call the low class to get privileges, or you know what I'm saying, where they invite you to get privileges and stuff like that, or be a part of their class. But anyway, I'm not going to even talk about that, right? And I just want to say that, going back to the kind of mindset that seems to want to generate against the elderly people, even at this point in time, that we shouldn't get too induced to everything what they're pushing out there. And we know it's deliberately programming people's minds to get them to think in a certain way. And we're going to go into that as time goes by. All right. Now, the other thing that Black African people need to be considering, I'm concerned about, like I said, I'm concerned about elderly and how we need to look after them. Right. The second thing is, how do we need to look after ourselves? Okay. And I thought about that. All these restrictions are not going out and stuff like that. For Black people, it's like how's that really going to work for us? Because we need sun. And today in London, London's really sunny today. I don't know what the temperature is, but it's quite warm today, or quite mild, reasonably mild, and the sun's very, very bright. And I know, and a lot of people that study this, okay, we know that we need to have sun and how important that is, okay? So we need some advisory notes around how do we need to deal with being isolated or self-contained or whatever it is, okay, they want to call it, because it's happening to everybody, whether you're sick or not, right? So what I'm saying is that we need to be looking at, well, like today, you need some of that sun, so go and get some of that sun, innit? So you can charge up your energy, so you can rejuvenate your immune system, help to rejuvenate. It's all beautiful for you, you know what I'm saying? The sun is like everything to us, right? It's something that in all cultures, the sun is something that everybody knows that we need the sun. Without the sun, there's no life, right? So for us as Black African people, we need the sun like food, because it is food for us, okay? And because we highly melanated or highly carbonated beings, it's important that we get some sun. We get the sun in the back of our eyes, and we boost up our whole body, okay, and generate that energy around, okay? And so it's important that we get the sun rays, we get the light rays, and obviously to accommodate that too, you have to always focus on getting the foods that's going to give you the vitamin D, because some of us know that vitamin D is part of what the sun gives us, that energy, the vitamin, the nutrients. But you can also have vitamin D supplements. So there's 3 essential things that you need: sun rays, sunlight, you know, energetic foods that's going to give you energy, natural foods, obviously, the most natural herbs, plants, roots, vegetables, and seeds and roots, fruits. And generally, you know, if you do go for supplements, you can go and get your vitamin supplements to accommodate or to substitute for lack of having vitamin D. So we need to be looking at how to generally protect our carbonated beings. And that, to me, the way I'm looking at melanin, I call it an intelligence. I call it melanin or voodoo melanin intelligence. Okay, generally, it's all encompassing our whole way of being, our spirit, our minds, our bodies, our hearts. It encompasses everything. The whole, it's all melanin. Is a very important substance, natural substance that is vital to our whole way of being. And obviously, lack of sun affects our bones. Most people who come from the sun or come from the tropics, tropical areas, know that like, you know, if you don't get a lot of sun, it's going to affect your bones. All right? So that's what I'm going to say for now. And moving forward, you know, going back to how people are feeling, well, you know, there's so many words that can describe how people are feeling right now. You're probably feeling frustrated. You're probably feeling soul destroying. You're looking at probably things and saying this whole thing's surreal. You know, you see the whole thing in despair. You see people in isolation. You may feel like you're in isolation. There's a lot of anticipation of what's going to be happening. What's the next thing that's going to be happening? When is this going to end? And there's this emptiness as well. You know what I'm saying? I think today's like being a sunny day. Obviously, it depends where you are, what place of in the environment that you are, what part of the world that you're living in, or how restricted or how limited you are, that you're going to have to take all these things into factor into consideration. But you may feel all these different things, but then to counteract that, what you have to say is that you need to uplift yourself. You need to uplift your spirit. You need to uplift your energy, strengthen yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, culturally. Spend time while you got doing your own research about yourself, about the things that you need to think about, what's going to help improve your whole physiology, your whole mental well-being, and look into what kind of foods, what kind of herbs, what kind of medicinal things, and the variety of things. There's so much things that you can learn about just there that's going to help maintain and sustain your life. And then just take the time. Is obviously not everybody's into information and reading and things like that. You don't have to read everything, but you do need to read some things. But there's a lot of stuff out there on different social media platforms that you can tap in, that's giving you presentations and lectures around eating healthy foods. Okay, so take some time out, a little time, practice. The more you practice, the more you get tuned into it, the more you become conversant, the more you become skilled, the more wise around these things. So take this time, this valuable time that we have in our life, to just learn about yourself and the kind of things that you need to do to input into your body, food, natural foods. Okay, and for me, like I said, I had to learn and develop over a period of time to cut out a lot of stuff. Because I knew, you find out that these things are not good for you. A lot of things that you've been used to, or you have a habit of having, were not good for you, and you could feel it sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But just because you can't feel it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do something about it. And every day is a day for learning. Okay, learning to develop, learning, always room to learn. That's the beautiful thing of life, is that there's always something that you can learn in life. So we need to learn to live, to love life and the essence of life, regardless of all of the things that's going on out there in the world right now. So I think it's important that, again, we find ways collectively, within the families, as individuals, come together collectively in forms of ways. We can use the social media now and do conference meetings by various platforms like Zoom or Skype or whatever. So we can use the technology to still be able to do the things that we need to do, even under these circumstances. And remember now, Black African people, we're the most resilient people. We're used to a lot of tribulations. We've used to a lot of stuff, okay? Not saying that those things are good, because a lot of these things are not good for us, okay? Because, as a group of people, some of us need to know that we're the most oppressed, targeted people on the planet Earth, and have been since the European invasion on the continent of Africa and across the planet Earth. And we've had to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't understand our story, our history and things like that. And as time goes by, maybe we get into that, right? But at the present moment, we don't know how long this thing's going to pan out. So I'm going to be talking about just two things, okay? And I'll give you a reason why I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to be talking about 5G and also vaccines, okay? There's two things I really want to touch on, okay? And I know I don't have a lot of time to cover these things really, okay? There's never enough time. But we're going to do our best, and I want your participation, I want your help. If you're by your keyboards, by your computer, or by your phone or whatever, maybe you can let us know any information out there that we need to know. Share that information, knowledge that's out there, right? All right. Sayshara. Be back very shortly after this.
Sayshara. Radiating, permeating, and emanating through speech and action. In full gear, automatic traction, exposing the illusions, the lies, and all of the distractions. You've just entered the Sayshara zone.
Tune in.
Tune into Sayshara. Sayshara. The voice for the voiceless. On Fafurity Radio. www.fafurityLondon.co.uk. Sayshara. The most topical
Radio
presenter coming from London, England. Live every Sunday, 3 till 6 p.m. Sayshara.
All right, Sayshara's in the house. Telephone numbers are 073 054 176 68. All right, so send me a text. Let me know what you're saying out there. Okay. All right. Yeah. So before I actually go into these two topics, okay, I've talked about it before in the past, right? And also other things. I've talked about so many different subjects, a whole range of subjects, you name it, from A to Z. I've gone into things that I didn't even want to go into. You know what I'm saying? But as a radio presenter, I think I challenged myself in a way to get into things that maybe I didn't even want to get into. But that's just the way I am, I suppose. I just get into things, innit? And just deal with that, right? So anytime you hear anything from me, Sayshara, any information, don't be surprised, okay? Because I had to learn and develop that. I wasn't born like that, you know what I'm saying? I had to learn and develop those knowledge and information just like most people, right? Depending, again, everybody's at different levels and stages and phases in their life, okay? Just say, for example, the young people, they're not going to understand what was happening when 9/11 happened or when the Twin Towers came down in New York. They're not going to understand that. They don't have that connection, especially the millennium babes. They ain't going to know that. Even people born in the 90s may not connect a lot of different things that led up to 9/11. And so what I'm saying is that everything is interconnected, interrelated, and relative. So I could be talking about so many different things, okay, that go back decades or hundreds of years, right? But at the same time, yes, we do need to look at the past. We do need to look at ourselves in the present, but we do need also to focus on our future. So we never leave all of these things out. And, you know, I'd never take knowledge and information for granted. This is what I'm saying. Yeah, and I think that you can learn from a baby to an elderly person. You can learn from all kinds of manners of things, okay? Your mind, your knowledge, the mind is so infinite to take on so much knowledge and information. Obviously, like I said, knowledge and information is not for everyone, okay? So when I'm talking about things, I'm talking about things because when I was looking at this 5G, I did want to talk about it last week. But I said, you know what? I just want to hear from people and what they're saying, really. I don't want to be like, always like, to seem like the first one to talk about certain things and blah, blah, blah. Do you get what I'm saying? So sometimes I like to feel things out, like to hear. Because to me, what I want to see or hear from people is, have they seen any differences of changes of the environment recently anything suspicious, anything that seems odd or weird, okay? And that's what I really wanted to hear, right? In my mind, I know about this whole thing about 5G and the harmful effects of 5G. I know about that. I've covered that story a couple of years ago, okay? I understand how, radiation works and how toxic and dangerous it is. Because we all brought up around it. We all brought up around it. And even those millennium babes, those millennium babies, children, even more than how we was growing up. So there's a story here maybe the younger generation don't know about that they need to connect with, because now they live in a world where everything is high tech, fast, and it's all about visual and messaging and so many different things for them. But there was a time when I was growing up in the 60s, the only thing that people had in the house was a radio and maybe a telephone. There weren't a lot of electrical stuffs around until, going into the late 60s and 70s. So when we're talking about technology and advancements of science and technology, okay, it has grown very, very rapidly, especially in the last 100 years. And then if you really think about it even more, even in the last 50 years. So you see this gradual process of how technology has advanced. But before I go there, I want to look at what people are saying out there. Just to touch on, because like I said, I love conspiracy theories. I love them all day long. I didn't know anything about conspiracy theories until 9/11. 9/11 was like, boom, the biggest conspiracy out there on the planet Earth. But I never knew it was a conspiracy. I knew there was something wrong with it the next day I woke up. Because remember now, for all those people that can tune into that experience, that event, and there's a major event, can tell you their story or where they was or whatever, right? But I remembered, everyone can remember, because they set it up like that. Remember now, the whole stage, you got to understand how this system is really operating and function. This is so primary important. This is why I'm trying to really reach out to the younger generation, right? As well as all of our generations, right? Because it's all important that we all get the information. But the younger generation, they need to, what I'm saying is that if we can get them to get the knowledge and information well in advance, okay, they'd be 10 times, 15, 20 times on a higher level than how we was when we was growing up. This is what I'm saying. Once we can get our edified forms of how we need to edify our children's minds from when they start talking and walking, we have our own centers of institution that's African-centered, and it's not influenced by outside foreign forces. It has its own language, curriculum, and how we train our teachers and how the teachers are edifying our children. And when I say edified in them, because educate, what we call information and knowledge is like food again. That's what it is. That's how important it is. I don't think people understand how important knowledge and information is. That's why if you watch how the ruling class, the elite, they keep information to themselves on a need to know basis, because they know how valuable information is. People are buying information. Information is very, very valuable, okay? But going back to what I'm saying here about what I'm talking about is I don't know what's going on. I'm just speculating just like everybody else. So we're looking at what we need to know what's going on. We need to speculate on things. What are we, dummies? What are we, robots? Right? No. We need to be able to think for ourselves. The way this system is set up, It wants to control your thoughts. It wants to control your mind. It doesn't want you to think for yourself. Right? And so there's different sides of this whole paradigm of existence that we live in that we call reality, that some of us are not able to see because we're not understanding the knowledge and the information and how people are using knowledge and information against you or against us. And that the whole class structure is set up to keep poor people poor. Right? And that the ruling class, the elite, know this equation. They've calculated it. Right? I'm not saying that all people who are in the high echelons of societies, of how they see themselves and how they represent themselves under their class code and ethics, if they got any ethics, that is, obviously, yeah. But not all of them are bad, right? But what I'm saying is, it just takes, what they say is that one bad apple in an apple cart with good apples is going to contaminate those apples. And so we got one or two people who their minds are infested and contaminated, right? But then, there's nothing wrong with how we see the world, right? Because the world, the way the system is set up for us to see the world, is in a way that they want to keep you blinkered. They want to keep you. Do you know what I'm saying? You're not supposed to see outside reality of what, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're not supposed to see outside of reality, right? So you need to understand certain knowledge and information that's more than what they're giving you. You have to self-edify yourself to know certain things, or you're never going to know anything. If you think that you're just going to accept everything else what's been given to you, you need to put in your own work in of how you need to inform yourself, okay? Because nobody else is going to do it. You might get some conscious people that come along, and there's quite a few small percentages of conscious people around that are in tune with reality and do want to edify young people's minds and all generations' minds. But let's look at this, yeah? Everyone's talking about 5G, and I know recently they've took down some video recently. Now somebody was saying that there could be some 5G correlation with this whole thing to do with COVID-19, coronavirus. There may be some correlation, right? So remember now, we have to question things, okay? We've got every right to question things, regardless of what the government is saying or what the mainstream media is saying, okay? Or what the mainstream doctors are saying, what the mainstream medical industry is saying, or what the mainstream scientists are saying. You see what I'm saying? They've been given a script, okay, to say what they're saying to the mass general populace of people via the media. The media is very, very controlled, regardless of what anybody was say. I know the difference because I've seen what was happening from Fleet Street days to what it is today. It's a corporate industry now, okay? A lot of those independents, they're not in the game no more, or they've been sucked up, okay? Or they've got to conform to the class structure that exists. Every industry, every institution, every type of establishment, there is a class structure, right? It doesn't matter whether you want to call yourself black, white, whatever. That's a class structure as well in itself. But you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself, right? Right? And they can call you whatever they want to call you, right? Generally speaking, poor people used to be looked at as peasants, as serfs. You know what I'm saying? and all these types of derogatory languages. So look at what is going on. And yeah, one of the things that people are suspecting is that there's a correlation with 5G. Okay, we can look at that. Another thing that people are talking about, I've got a list there of different types of speculations. People want to call them theories or thoughts, whatever you want to call them. You know, people are talking about these different things, isn't it? Yeah, some of the things are old anyway, right? And some things may be fairly new, right? Depending, again, some people might have not heard of anything like this, right? You're just totally out the game. You're just not in the loop, right? You're not conscious. You're not coming to consciousness around how this whole system works and operates and functions, right? So mandatory vaccines is another thing that people are concerned about, and I feel they should be concerned about, and we'll go into that as time goes by in the next couple of hours. We'll touch on it. Another thing is microchip through vaccines. Now that's pretty old, reasonably old. People's been talking about that, and people should be concerned about that because it's not impossible. They're actually doing it. They've tested it and done all of that. It's happening in certain places. Certain individuals are already chipped. In some cases, we don't even know we've been chipped because if you look at, I'm just touching on about this whole thing around the immunization programs that they give us at birth or, you know, as babies. You got to even question that, right? But then, yeah, so they could be talking about, and it's nothing new. You can go and look at it. I think the person who invented the microchip, which is about the size of a micro, sorry, it's a micro grain of a rice. That's how small it is, and it stores data as information, right? So they can inject that in your veins, no problem, right? So there's another thing that people's talking about is this whole thing around digital currency, resetting the economy, having a cashless society. It's kind of a buzz tool that's been around now for a little while. And another thing is that, and we're going to go to a break in a few minutes, and I'm going to come back to that and widen this whole discussion around these things, okay? So just hold tight.
For Africans here, it's not healthy for us to stay here all winter. That's a real problem for us because we need intense sunlight all of the time. And the darker you are, the more vulnerable you are by staying in dim areas of the country and not getting adequate exposure. So I have found ever since I healed myself of cancer in '86 that I cannot stay here through the winter. I actually feel the strain and I feel the dipping into my reserves of energy. So I just go to the tropics where I was indigenously born and created to be and get sunlight.
Original. 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 Original.
Yeah, 32 Radio, Sayshara here, back in the house. Okay, all right. So, yeah, I do like writing stuff. Okay, so generally I'll have notes. So, and sometimes I'll make a list of whatever things are happening out there, and I'll just bring it. Yeah. So anyway, I just made a list of all different things that's out there. And like I said, none of these things are new for some people. Some things might be new. Some people might not even know anything about these. None of these things, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not saying I know everything. Like again, I said, I don't want to know everything. I'm just speculating just like everybody else. That's all we can do is speculate, right? Because we need to know what is going on, right? In fact, the problem that we got is that if you look at the way China is as a country, think about this, yeah? Let me see if I can just turn this down. All right. If you think about China as a country, you know, they suppress information, and it's difficult to work with a country that suppresses information. You just don't know. You could not get in the source of information right there, innit? So that's what's really making it difficult. But we know somewhere down the line, we know something happened there, right? The thing is, they're not really investigating. I'm not sure if they're investigating or pinpointing. They're not bothered because they're all interested in this. Is actually the responses, okay? How to respond to the whole situation that they put, you know, the systems put us in now, yeah? They will put us in as a people, yeah? So we're here, all right? And, you know, just the way that, you know, you have a lack of information, right? And I think that what's really going on is that people in that circle of the high echelon of society, in the ruling class elite, they know what's going on. They get the information in advance. They're already prepared for this. Trust me on that. They done prepare for all of this already. They would have got inside information. They would have been privy to certain information because the people that's controlling things, they're working around in those same circles. So they're going to get privy to the information. Not everybody's going to be privy to the information, right? Because you're not in that circle, right? So anyway, the list goes on. I said, again, we go back to the whole different ranges on the different speculations out there. And if people's got a right to speculate, because why would you trust your government? This is why people don't trust governments. There's people out there, they don't trust their governments. And there's a good reason for that. Right? So this is the problem. People don't trust their governments. Right? So you have to, you know, the more you if you don't trust something, you know you got to question the things that you don't trust. Right? So governments are under a microscope. Do you get what I'm saying? Because they're the ones that's controlling people's life. They control millions and millions and millions of people's lives. So really, we have to hold them to account. We have to hold them to be responsible for their actions and their non-actions. Okay? So you need to hold government to account. Right? And really though, this is why these people are speculating things. Anyway, so people are concerned about the 5G, and we're going to go into that again. 2, mandatory vaccines, false mandatory vaccines. Okay, then to go with that, microchipped through vaccines. Okay, through some methods they can do these now. They can actually do it. They've got people are testing it and done it already and everything. You know, in fact, I think, like I said, the person who invented the microchip regretted that he made the microchip, which is just the size of a rice of grain, and controls and holds information and data. Digital currency, cashless society, reset the economy. Okay, there's real issues with the economy anyway, with this whole fiat currency anyway, which is nothing more than an illusion and based on debt. Anyway, I won't go into that right now. Depopulation. Right. Depopulation. A lot of people are talking about this depopulation, okay, because quite rightly too, there's certain people think that people can say things, right, and people are just going to forget about it. You can say, really need to think about what we're saying sometimes, isn't it? Okay, and at the same time, we have to be expressive, right? I don't think, you know, you should be obviously you need to be a certain consciousness around the things that you say, right? But sometimes people are saying things and they think, oh, they can just say things like this, okay. And the things that they're saying is very, very alarming. But then you see the people in the audience, right, hearing this, find it amusing that you'd want to calculate, if you do certain calculations, right, that if you make a few adjustments, you can depopulate the whole planet Earth by 15% or whatever it is. And you're talking like that, that is eugenics. Do you get what I'm saying? That is, you know, a person that just doesn't like human beings on this planet Earth. There's a word for it. I think it's called misanthrope. Misanthrope. You just don't like people. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, there's been talk about this depopulation, especially to do with this whole thing to do with the United Nations thing, isn't it? Right? Agenda 21. We'd look into that, yeah? But then that to dovetail that, people are concerned about total population control, right? And that comes under the martial law. Martial law is, are they going to bring in martial law? Right? I think we're in martial law already anyway. I think black people's been in martial law a long time. Martial law, apartheid, and you know, this whole institutional racism thing that goes on. And also the people's talking about, again, resetting the economic system. But there's this one, a cover-up for the elites, because maybe they've been exposed in certain areas around doing certain things, wrongdoings, and things like public corruption, child and people sex trafficking, prostitution, child pedophilia, and so many various criminal activities that I just spend all day going through it, right? But I see a lot of that go on, and there's a big blanket cover-up around that. So maybe, I don't know, there's some people saying that as well, right? The thing I'm looking at, what I think it is, right? This is what I think it is. Yeah, it looks to me like a social experiment, right? That's what it looks like to me. Well, this is a psyops, and we're just like guinea pigs, because this whole system, for those people out there, they want to manipulate people and people's lives and all manner of things. They just want to treat us as like specimens. You know what I'm saying? To experiment. You know what I'm saying? And you know, maybe some people think that's a good thing, but I don't think it's a good thing. Right, to experiment with people's lives. So I think it's just like this is like the world is just one big laboratory. It's been like that for a couple hundred years, especially with the advance of all this science and technology. It's like the more science and technology we have in here on this planet Earth, is the more destructive this whole planet becomes. I don't see, you know what I'm saying? I see, you know, the beautiful thing about the advances and things like that, but I see the destructive things as well. I think there's more destructive things with all these advances than anything else. Another thing that people are saying, and I've not really looked into this, is that there's an asteroid coming directly towards planet Earth. Yeah, people are saying that, right? And then, you know, there's the weird and wonderful things that people are coming out with, okay? So some things might sound very far-fetched when hearing some of these things, right? But, you know, some things have been pre-planned and they've put into place. Set into place, right? So the United Nations New World Order, Agenda 21 Sustainable Development, is the prior of all of this stuff that's going on, isn't it? Right? Because they're the biggest intergovernment agency or organization. I call it the Brigades Boys Club, right? That's what it is. 193 leaders coming together and basically just going through the motions, really. Not really doing anything, just going through the motions. We just meet, sign a few papers and gone again, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? That's how it's been for the last, 70 odd, how long have they been around? So, yeah, so, the other thing is it coming out right? Is it sounding right? Yeah, so the other thing is, again, like I said, the last thing I think that some people are saying as well is the whole thing is a hoax. It's a false flag, a ruse, a stage event, a false alert. Boom. That's what people are saying, right? And so you can take from it whatever you want, right? I live in the real world, okay? And people say you need to be woke, right? So we need to be woke. Now, let's look at 5G. Let's look at different things around 5G. I mean, there's so much things going on there, isn't it? Yeah? But let's start going back to what I was saying, yeah? Let's look at the start of technology. Let's look at our experiences, some of us are growing up and looking at the technology and how we look around our rooms, our houses, our flats, our buildings, our offices, our work environment. You go out on the street and look out on the street and see how many things have changed over a short pace of time with all of this advanced technology. Right? But the thing is, the whole thing around 5G is just an advancement that's moved off from just a basic radio transmission using electronic magnetic waves. Right? That's how it all started. Right? And you need to know that anything that's electrical is going to be emitting, radiating or resonating or storing energy. Okay? And I think that we accept a lot of stuff around us, okay, without actually thinking about the consequences of those things that we have around us. And thinking, well, how far can we go with all this stuff? Really questioning. Why do we have to have so much, and why is it important that it's going to cost so much, right? So we have to look at a lot of the stuff to do with what's going on in China, right, with this 5G. What is really going on with this 5G? It's happening in China, isn't it? Right? China has about 3 companies that can build the 5G infrastructure. I think the one that everybody's familiar with is Huawei, right? Some people might even have their phones. And I don't know, I've never really paid too much attention about the politics that was going on between China, the United States of America, until recently, that America and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, they had a little tiff. The United States and this country, England, they had a little tiff over Huawei. And that kind of pricked my conscience for a minute there. Because they very rarely have arguments, you know what I'm saying? They're like brothers and sisters, right? So anyway, it was interesting what America was saying, kind of telling this country, well, you know, we don't think it's a good idea that you're going to compromise your position with the data and information, because it's all about data and information, protecting the data and information. That's what Donald Trump is concerned about. He's saying, well, can you trust the Chinese? He's not saying, can you trust Yahweh? He's saying, can you trust the Chinese? Because let's be real, Chinese, it doesn't matter what business it is, okay? I think that we don't understand how the Chinese Communist Party works, what they call the CCP. We don't understand how they work, right? There's so much things that we don't understand about China because they're so kind of insular. They like to keep things within themselves, okay? And they don't like to talk about a lot of stuff. Plus, I think maybe, I'm maybe not 100%, but they have maybe a strict regime and a certain type of indoctrination that we cannot connect with, okay, because that's part of their culture and traditions and customs and their behavior and things like that they've had for decades, right? So it's difficult to say what is actually going on in China, again, like I was saying, right? But is there some sort of power struggle around the actual launching of 5G and the different implications that may be involved with it, right? So we have to look at what is this 5G about, where's it coming from, and how it's going to get here, or is it here, and what can be the effects of it, right? Or what we know. I think some of us really know what the idea. I mean, looking at the glossy side of 5G, yeah, it's going to be fast, and the data is going to be able to store more data, and you're going to be able to do some fantastic stuff, okay? But to me, it's not really a big thing to me, because to me, I think that, all right, some people are trying to say that they're trying to denounce a lot of stuff to do with 5G and the effects of 5G harms and effects, and there's so much information, people out there trying to denounce this, okay? But what we're going to do, we're going to go through a few things, okay? And then you can make your own informed decisions around it. Again, like I said, I'm not here to tell people what to do or tell people what to say, okay? I never ever want to come over like a controller or a dictator, I'm saying, like some control freak or anything like that, yeah? Like I said, I think we need to be open, have open discussions and conversations around certain things, and just be amicable about how we dialoguing, right? But I was trying to think, when did this whole thing launch? Because I remember I said to you that some people, it could be, we don't know what's going on, because normally the way the ruling classes elite work, okay, if I can use a metaphor, right, as an example, it's like when they're doing anything, any major event, it's been pre-planned, okay? Whatever opportunity is going to come off the back of that, okay, they're going to be able to exploit in different avenues, right? So that's why it's difficult to really pinpoint what is actually going on, because actually there's quite a few things going on all at the same time. But we can't say, all we can do is say it's one thing. It's difficult to say, oh, it's 2, 3, 4 different things. It's difficult to say that, right? So we just say, oh, it's this or it's that or the other. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? There's nothing wrong with that. Free mind, free thoughts, right? Problem now becomes that it's like, it looks like the way the system is working and operate, they don't really care about people's life and well-being and health and all of this stuff. They're just going to roll out whatever it is they're going to roll out, right? And let me see if I can get this call and I'll come back to you. Hold on. Are you there? No, you're gone. All right, call us back, caller. Yeah. All right. So, again, let me just call out the numbers: 073 054 17668. All right. So I'm talking about 5G from, like I said, it's a big subject. There's so much to talk about. Okay. But I thought about we need to go to where the source is. Okay. So we know that China, they've advanced so much with this technology. Okay, it's amazing, really is amazing, right? But I think I thought, oh, China's the one that first launched it, but China wasn't the first one to launch it. You know, I think it's South Korea was the testing ground to launch this whole 5G thing, innit? Right? And they done it last year, I think from last year, May. Okay? So when China done it, they done it in, I think, round about November. They started to launch this 5G in November. Right? And so basically, you have to look around the different places. You have to look at the dates, basically, or the different places to correlate this whole thing in it. To say, because I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm only just speculating on these different things. But at the same time, it's coming out that, yeah, 5G is harmful. Now, I would say that as well, right? People are saying this, okay? And it's nothing wrong with people suspecting it, right? People can say that, right? So, it says studio number isn't working. Okay. Right, maybe there's something wrong with the line. Right. Give it a check again, okay? Because I didn't get a chance to answer it. Alright. Yeah, I never got a chance to answer it, okay? And then it just switched off. Alright. So it was ringing. So yeah, give it another go. And see if we can get that conversation going, yeah? Alright. So yeah. Going back to what I was saying now, yeah, people's trying to correlate this thing, right? People trying to work out, is it that? Because I think, I don't know, it's possible, because remember, I've given you different things, or at least 4 different versions of what people are saying the stories or the narrative is, okay? I said, firstly, they said it's the wet market, right? Or where they sell these wild animals, okay? And that they're saying, oh, all these animals come together and all of this stuff, okay? Because you imagine that there's different animals that, wild animals, I'm talking about cats, dogs, whatever, right? Bats is one of the things that people are saying that it's coming from, and that they're saying that it's coming from bat soup, okay? Generally speaking, but when you look at it more closely, the people that they're saying that eat bat soup, they don't eat bat soup. Some other group of people may be in another province somewhere, you know, far away from there, they may eat it. But yeah, can you hear me? Right, what's happening? Down to refresh. All right, hold on. Not sure what's going on. All right, yeah, caller, just what's that? Yeah, I don't know. It's just keeping dropping.
What do you mean it's just dropping? I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, you answer it anyway. Then. Okay.
All right, give it another try, caller, and we'll see if we can get you up here. Okay. All right. So going back to what I was saying now, yeah, these different theories. So they talked about the wet market and the wild animals all coming together and contaminate, because the only way this virus, what they're saying is, biologically speaking, that one of the stories is that, oh, Brazil say for instance, in Brazil, they got pigs over there. They farm these pigs, and basically bats dropping, the food, and basically the pigs get these drop-ins from the bats' food drop-ins, and what I'm saying. That's That's the one way they're saying that the contamination is, all right, and that the pigs, okay, that's contaminated. Just like if you remembered mad cow disease some years ago, and we're going to touch on that, yeah. All right. So when I call, for some reason, please check the line. All right. Let me see if I can just. I don't know if I can reboot this whole thing. I don't know why it's going to voicemail. All right. Yeah, so sorry, excuse me. Just getting distracted with the phone. Yeah, going back to what I was saying about these different theories, okay, of how it started or how it originated and stuff like that. This whole thing to do with COVID-19, or maybe it's just a common flu, cold or flu or influenza. I don't know, right? Because we know people can use this as an opportunity. But yeah, they're saying that, yeah, all these different contaminated things could be happening. Okay, so see, I don't really know what the source is. I don't know, but these different versions of what it could be. So, whether you eat bat soup is contaminated. They're saying the bat soup is contaminated because you're eating bat soup. Well, how did the bats get contaminated? But what they're saying is that it has to be like two different animals, like different. It's like the contamination comes from. It has to be a mixture of animals. Like two animals have to mix to get these kind of toxic virus. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're saying, right? So, and the other thing is that they're saying that the WIV, Wuhan Institution of Virology, that's studying diseases and viruses and all these different things, that it leaked out from there, right? Some way or the other, right? And the other thing is that, it's a biological weapon attack by America. America created this virus and basically brought it over to China, right? Maybe Chinese, maybe the Chinese Communist Party, they're pushing their own propaganda. I don't know. Both sides push. Every country pushes their own propaganda, and they're going to give their own narrative when they're in a situation when they have to defend themselves. Okay, and that's what happens, right? And the other theory is that I think that the other thing is that that it's a hoax, right? So we've got quite a few things going on there, right? But we still don't know. It's not been actually, I don't think, properly investigated or identified. But the thing is, what I'm finding is that everybody, all the things that we're talking about, whatever design it is, okay. The people that call themselves the World Health Organization, they know all this stuff. The United Nations, they know all this stuff. They got organizations on top of organizations dealing with these things all the time. So it's not like they're not aware of it or know of it. So the idea that we're not prepared for a epidemic or a pandemic in 2020, to me, it sucks, because we've got all this science, we've got all this technology, we've got all this infrastructure in place, okay, and you're telling me that we're not prepared for that. What are you talking about? You've done, and even still, remember now, right? There was organizations that was practicing an exercise in October in New York City, right? A pandemic exercise, stimulation. Right, so that must have been planned years in advance as well, and then like governments would know about these things. Do you know what I'm saying? So the idea that the governments don't know, it's not that the governments don't know, they know, and it's not that they're not prepared. They just don't care. Do you know what I'm saying? Why should they? A few more people getting killed or dying and all of this stuff, what difference does it make to them? Just numbers. You know what I'm saying? You're nothing but specimens, right? So it's interesting that, again, like I said, All these different things are coming out. But what I've realized is that I've tried to look at what countries never had free 5G, right? You got to look at that as well. What countries never had 5G? And the countries that's rolling out 5G, for example, when did they roll out and launch and switch it on, basically? And see if there's a correlation there, right? You find that most of the developed countries, like in Europe, yeah, they got the technology, innit? They want the technology. They're begging for it. Everybody's kind of like queuing up, or they want to be the first to get the technology, right? And what's happening as well, the people that's pushing the technology, they're railroading anything to do with any occupational ads or anything like that, right? So they're not paying attention to whether it's going to affect people's life, it's going to be a risk factor or anything like that, right? But what I found out is that Australia and New Zealand have banned Chinese firms from building their 5G networks. Because remember, I think I looked at Huawei. What's happening is, okay, there's 3 companies that can build 5G technology, but the most advanced is China, right? China's got the most patents for 5G technology and the infrastructure to build the technology, right? Now, going back to what I was saying about this whole debacle between the United States of America, Donald Trump and Boris Johnson, you know, representing UQ, right? And Great Britain and the Northern Ireland. Yeah, the thing that, you know, Donald Trump, right, or the Americans can see that they don't want Chinese infrastructure. They want their own infrastructure. In fact, they got their own infrastructure, but obviously it's not going to be as sophisticated as the Chinese technology, right? So if anybody doesn't, what they're saying is if people don't get the 5G, if these countries don't get the 5G, they're going to be left behind. This is what's going on, right? They don't care about the harmful effects of how it's affect people's lives, right? Now, how do they know? How do they know it's not going to affect people's lives if they don't switch it on? Now, like I said, they've been testing this thing out, so it's been out for a little while, since May, right? Again, it's been out in this country in May as well. Bristol, I think Bristol was the first testing ground with EE. Yeah. Can you hear me? Right, it's gone off again. Hold on. All right, caller, I really apologize. I don't know what's happening. I've answered it and it just went. I'm not sure what's going on. But give us a little while and we'll sort that out, yeah? All right, so I'm continuing. So in this country, it's been a gradual rollout with all of the network providers, okay, generally speaking. But Bristol seems to be the launching, testing ground for 5G, one of the universities, okay? Now, I've got some articles here, okay? So just to give you an idea, right? This is not just me talking off my head, right? All right, so there's so much stuff going on, yeah? That, yeah, okay, so the phone's going straight to answer phone. We'll call in next week, thanks. All right, thanks very much. All right then, so Apologies for the phone lines. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there. All right, so obviously, again, like I said, there's new information that, yeah,
I don't think you're pressing it right.
there's new information coming out every day, and really, we're just keeping an eye on things, what's going on there, and see if we can fit the pieces to the puzzle, generally speaking. Okay, and at the same time, yeah, try again, brother, or sister, if you want. It should be all right. Okay, I don't know. I might be doing something wrong, so we'll see. Just give us a call now, and we should be able to answer your call. All right. So, all right. So we're gonna look at Jumbo.
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
So
Go.
slide it.
Yeah, slide it. All right. I thought I did. Yeah. All right. Go again. I can hear. Yeah. All right. So we just tested the phone lines. Okay. Just double check because I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not sliding it properly. All right. So yeah, keep on calling in on 073-054-17668. All right. So we're going to look at different things here. Okay. Just to be clear. See if we can get time to go through this. All right. So much different things going on. I've got so much information that, again, I'm not going to be able to go through everything right now. All right. So I've got some stuff as well. All right. Let's look at some stuff I printed out, in fact. Let's go back. All right. So look, EMFs. Let's look at the relevant bits. Okay. So radio frequency radiation. Okay. So basically, if you remember, like I said, radio was probably the only thing that we had in our houses. Okay. And then that's generating a certain amount of radiation, right? But it's not that much. It's small. And then TVs, again, radiation. Anything that's electrical is radiation, right? It says there that we're just going to look at little things, okay, around understanding why EMFs exposure can be harmful, okay? We'll just go into that. Now, the EMF stands for electromagnetic fields, okay? You might say electromagnetic forces and things like that. Anyway, it says electromagnetic fields are comprised of an electric and a magnetic field perpendicular to each other, which travel together in an invisible waveform. So basically, the EMF is invisible. You're not going to see it, right? You're not going to see it. Anyway, it says there, EMFs can occur near an electrical current according to Maxwell's law. When atoms absorb another form of energy, which can be in the form of E or another EMF, the electrons in an atom can get excited and release another EMF field. This is exactly how plant chlorophyll extracts energy from sunlight to convert carbon dioxide into glucose. So when nuclear reactions occur, such as how the sun creates energy. So man-made EMFs are generated by one of these methods to create electromagnetic waves that are useful to us. These include radio waves, Wi-Fi signals, and microwave radiation. In addition, visible lights, UV lights, and infrared radiation are also a form of EMFs. So then you've got low frequency EMF radiation. Okay, that have lower frequencies than visible light, are non-ionizing radiation. Examples include EMFs from microwave ovens, computers, visible light, smart meters, Wi-Fi, cell phones, Bluetooth, power lines, and MRIs. Yeah? And high frequency EMF radiation, these are frequencies higher frequencies than visible light, which are ionizing radiation. Examples include ultraviolet light, X-rays, and gamma rays. Right? So really, we're looking in that range there, innit? Yeah. Now let's look at cell phones. Okay. We already know. Some of us already know that cell phones, they're not the best things for us in terms of not understanding that the phones can be kind of damaging to us in some terms. I'll give you an example with this technology. For example, you see, like, if you use the phone, like, it's not advisable to use a phone. Like, you see people, they've got the phone stuck to their ears, isn't it? Right? But you notice how the phone gets really, really hot. Of course it's going to get hot. The longer that you really, the longer the duration of using the phone, the more it's going to heat up those components in the phone, and the components of the phone, of what's in the phone, is going to generate a certain amount of energy that it's going to have to release. It's going to have to dissipate this energy, so it's going to get hot, right? And it does get really, really hot, right? Now, obviously, the best thing to use to avoid that is the wire earphones. Okay, the wired earphones, not Bluetooth earphones, which there's a lot of Bluetooth earphones going around now. Okay, I've had loads of them. I stopped using them for the last, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years now. I don't use Bluetooth. I mean, like, the only time I used to, when I did use them, was just for driving. I would never really walk around in them that much, because, and then after a while, what I found is that you may not hear the pulses in the Bluetooth going. You can, the pulses, the noughts and the ones, the binary codes, it's just generating through that Bluetooth. Okay, and when you take the Bluetooth off, you can still hear it pulsing in your eardrum. There's something wrong there, isn't it? Because it shouldn't be doing that. So it's definitely affecting you straight away. Okay, so I wouldn't advise people to use Bluetooth headphones for any time at all. No time at all. Okay, so the same things that people need to understand about these things. Okay, that we need to be really savvy around the things that we're using in our homes and in our environment. So anyway, so it's asking the question, the most important thing. Okay, are EMS harmful? And they're saying that there is no question, okay, that too much exposure, just like anything, too much of anything, if you abuse it or if you use it excessively, anything generally is going to cause an effect, right? Same thing with this EMFs, right? So, again, the question that too much exposure, too high frequency radiation can create health problems. Obviously, if you stay out, I'm not going to talk about that. It says, it's talking about the sun. We know about the sun and all of this stuff, okay? For us, the sun is a good thing for black people, okay? But obviously, for other groups of people, maybe the sun's not good for them, right? Anyway, it says health effects of low frequency EMF radiation are more controversial for many reasons. First, symptoms due to use of microwave ovens, smart meters, Wi-Fi, cell phones, etc. can be inconspicuous at first, but they may become noticeable over time rather than immediately. So, okay, so basically you're not going to notice the effects immediately, right? So I think that why is EMF exposure a problem? All right, so if you look at, we look at different people and what people are saying, okay? Because to me, I've got so much questions I want to ask, right? The question I ask, okay, is if you look at what the mainstream media is doing, for example, okay? Why is it that you never heard the mainstream media talk about 5G? Never talk about it. They advertise it, but you never hear them actually debate it. why don't they debate the whole thing around 5G? Because to me, I think like, again, like I said, yeah, we have to have, we should be able to have concentration. People are supposed to be able to be knowledgeable about what things are going to be put into the environment. They have a right. They have an opportunity, a right. Everyone has a right, an opportunity to be able to be informed, right? So it says there, I might have jumped a little bit, right? Because it says that the first symptoms are, using these different things, okay? Right? And that you may not notice the consequences or the outcomes of the, using all these different devices and things that's radiating, everything that's around us is radiating energy, innit? Right? So, we don't know, because you can't see, it's invisible. The radiation is invisible, right? You can't see. So, obviously, we're just going around our daily lives as per usual. But over time, you just don't know how it's going to affect you, right? And the second thing that they're talking about is the electronic and telecommunication industries has strong financial interests in consumers not being aware of potential harm from using their products. Okay, so it's all about money, yeah? And it says there, why is EMF exposure a problem? We have long known that the human body is sophisticated, which is true, and it's an electromagnetic system. Our nervous system and our heart run on electricity, which explains why we can shock a dead heart into life using an electric shock machine called a defibrillator. Back in 1969, Dr. David Cohen, professor of physics at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, was able to detect the magnetic fields from the human heart and brain. So yeah, our body is, what is our body? Okay. Our whole makeup is all those elements, those natural elements on this planet Earth is a reflection of what we have. We have these natural elements in our body. That's why we have to find ways to supplement those elements in our body. Okay? And you see that we conduct a certain amount of electricity, we store energy and all of this stuff, okay? And it is true that we store energy, and I can give you an example. I'm sure everybody experienced this, okay? That if, for example, depending on what type of clothing you're wearing, okay, you could become static, right? And many a times I've touched the door handle of a car, or to open the door of a car, and you just get shocked. You just get a shock, and you drop your keys. You get a shock, so you're stunned, innit? Right? So many times that just shows you that we are static energy, right? So we conduct a certain amount of electrical energy and light energy and things like that. And so in this article it's saying there that we evolved with the natural EMFs that of the earth and the sun, which sync with our healthy biological rhythms. Earth has its own magnetic field, which is why we can use a compass to find the North Pole no matter where we are. Earth EMF is called the Schumann resonance, which is at 7.83 Hertz. The sun is a big source of natural EMFs, including visible light and UV radiation. Our own electromagnetic signals are very weak compared to the man-made EMFs exposures to man-made EMFs. So these man-made EMFs can interfere with the electromagnetic systems inside of our bodies, particularly the brain, the heart, and the mitochondria can be particularly susceptible to EMF interference. In addition, because our own biology can get disrupted, EMF exposure can worsen inflammatory problems. How much EMF exposure is safe? With high coverage cell phone networks, Wi-Fi signals and appliances, it is not simply possible to reduce EMF exposure to zero. Whether a certain EMF is dangerous depends on a few different aspects of the electromagnetic waves, including frequency. The higher frequency an EMF is, the more energy it carries and the more likely it is to be dangerous. Power density. The average energy of the electromagnetic waves is in a given area of volume. Strength of the electric or magnetic fields that are present. And the fourth and last thing is duration of exposure. Prolonged duration is usually worse than acute duration for the same levels of EMF. The World Health Organization established a guideline for self-EMF exposure, while different countries also have established their own guidelines. According to a report by Netherlands National Institute of Public Health and another report by Dr. Jack Cruz, Russia has the strictest requirements, while the US allows for more EMF exposure. Right? So people can cuss and they can put Russia down and say all kinds of things about Russia and whatever, but at least they're practicing to some degree strict guidelines, much more stricter than the USA or Europe. And actually there's a chart that gives you, I don't know if I can read that, it says exposure limits to the general public for electromagnetic fields in inhabited areas in member states of the European Union and selected industrial nations outside the European Union. Right, so it gives you country by country anyway, all the different guidelines for exposure. Okay, so basically what they're saying is obviously they have to have guidelines for the limited amount of radiation exposure, because obviously radiation, the type of radiation that people are talking about, even if we're talking about 2G, 3G level, or even 4G, it's still microwave radiation, right? And if you see a microwave, what you got in your home, some of you, right? What does a microwave do? It cooks your food from the outside in. You know what I'm saying? It's generating radiation, right? And it's cooking food from the outside in, right? And it's toxic, and Russia is very strict around these kind of things. Okay, so let's go to what the industry doesn't want you to know about EMF exposure. It says the telecommunications and electronic industry have a major conflict of interest against consumers becoming aware of health effects from EMF exposure. In fact, they might even be in denial. Their safety claims are typically reinforced by government agencies, as it can be very expensive for them to make things safer. Right? So basically, what they're saying is that the governments are prepared to compromise your health and well-being, okay, just so that they can be piloting or pioneering the advancement of using 5G technology, regardless of the harmful effects and causes, right? So anyway, it goes on to say, so government could be in total denial, and I think they are, because you see, I watch the media a lot. Recently, I just cut off, innit? I just switched off the media. I'm telling you, I just got sick of them, just the barrage of confusion and a total mess, right? I just switched off, man. I'm just sick of them just brainwashing, programming, condition people. Because what they're going to do, right, the mainstream media, using psychology, reverse psychology, and using various psychological aspects that they've been trained into by various institutions that study psychology, right? They're gonna force you to say, "Oh, let's take the vaccines." No, that you become willing. No, they're not going to get you to fall, because they're very clever, right? They're not going to say, "Oh, we're going to force it on you." They're not going to do the mandatory thing on you. That's what they're not going to do. They're going to use reverse psychology, and what they're going to do is they're going to barrage you, saturate you with you saying that we need the vaccine. We need the vaccine because the vaccine is the only way that's going to prove this, that, and the other, right? That's what they're going to do. So they're going to keep on about that. It's the same thing with these test kits and all of this stuff, right, that they're bringing out, right? Everything that they're talking about is questionable, right? And it's dubious, right? Because they should have been prepared for this a long time. It's not that they don't know. They know, right? But they planning things. They know what they're planning. All right, so it goes on to say that their safety claims are typically reinforced by government agencies. As like I said, one of the reasons saying is that it's too expensive for them to make things safer. So currently the claim is that the low frequency EMF exposure is safe and based on the fact that there is no direct evidence showing that certain sources of EMF exposure are safe or unsafe. The International Agency for Research on Cancers already categorized low frequency EMF radiation a class 2B possible carcinogen. However, harmful effects of EMF radiation are not limited to cancer. As infamous cases of such denial was then utility companies started installing smart meters in people's homes, while the companies claimed that smart meters are safe. Numerous people started to experience neurological problems and in some cases worsened inflammatory symptoms as soon as the smart meters were actually installed. Okay, I'm just gonna leave you with this last sentence, and I'm gonna go for an interlude. Okay, these consumers had to immediately move to a new home with no smart meters or fight to have the smart meters uninstalled in their homes. All right.
For Africans here, it's not healthy for us to stay here all winter. That's a real problem for us because we need intense sunlight all of the time. And the darker you are, the more vulnerable you are by staying in dim areas of the country and not getting adequate exposure. So I have found ever since I healed myself of cancer in '86 that I cannot stay here through the winter. I actually feel the strain and I feel the dipping into my reserves of energy. So I just go to the tropics where I was indigenously born and created to be and get sunlight.
Original. 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 Original.
Okay, Sayshara back in the house once again. Telephone numbers are, where is it gone? 0. Okay, so I'm back here. 07305 417-668. Okay. So you're welcome to send us a text, or you're welcome to call in and comment on anything that I'm saying presently at the moment. Okay. So look, just got a little, just to go over just here with just one article, okay? And I'll tell you where to go to get this information or other informations, okay? So you can look for yourself, right? All right, so let me see what text is okay. Okay. All right, so there's 5G. Okay, so I've got a couple texts here. Right, yeah, apologies. The phone lines are working, by the way. So don't be afraid to call in, all right? Okay, so just keep on trying, just be persistent by all means, all right? And it says mobile phones mass fires are being investigated amid conspiracy theories claiming a link between 5G and coronavirus. There have been fires at Mast in Birmingham, Liverpool, and Melling in Merseyside. A video allegedly of the blaze in Agburth, spelled AIGBURTH, was shared on YouTube and Facebook, claiming a link between the mobile technology and COVID-19. Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove said it was dangerous nonsense. Yeah, you see, they would say that. And, you know, Michael, you see, these politicians, what I'm surprised about, yeah, is that there's been people protesting about this stuff, innit? We're going to go into that, okay? Just let me finish these texts, okay? And we'll look at some stuff, right? It says that the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport said on Twitter, there is absolutely no credible evidence of a link, while trade body Mobile UK said such rumours and conspiracy theories were concerning. Thanks for that, Macron. You've said also here 5G towers being burnt down all over the country. Also, sneakily, they have changed 4G to 5G network on phones and wireless. Yeah, that's true. They're sneaky, you know, for real. Because they're doing this under the cover, innit, of disguise. I've seen they disguise some of the mask, and man, there's so much things going on there. Yeah, but they're disguising on. It's really sneaky how they brought in this 5G, innit, right? All right, so let's look at some of the symptoms related to EMF exposure. I talked about, just before we went for the interlude, about the smart meter. I think different people have different experience about smart meters, okay? But it says there that many parents, this is in America, are observing that, this is Ontario in America, are observing that the children are becoming ill after school started to install Wi-Fi. Children are particularly susceptible to harm from EMF radiation because they have smaller and growing bodies, so symptoms can be more apparent. Okay? So now, symptoms related to EMF exposure. Okay, this is the most important thing that we need to look at. Chronic high levels of low frequency EMF exposure can result in insomnia, anxiety, depression, brain fog, dizziness and vertigo, frequent illnesses, HPA axis dysfunction, also known as adrenal fatigue, hormone imbalances, cancer or increased cancer risk. So it says that, therefore, EMF exposure is not healthy. Fortunately, it's still possible to reduce EMF exposure and take steps to mitigate potential harm from EMF radiation. How to reduce EMF exposure. We all know it isn't realistic to avoid all man-made EMFs, but there are some simple things that we can take to reduce exposure. Avoid living near strong sources of EMF radiation. Very strong sources of EMF radiation can present significant health risks. These include smart meters, radio stations, electrical generators, power lines, and electrified train tracks. An Italian study found that adults and children who live within 3 kilometers of a high-power radio station are at a higher risk of developing leukemia than others. Therefore, you want to consider having these EMF sources removed or moving away from them. Limit EMF exposure at home. It may not be possible to avoid using electricity and devices that generate EMFs, but it is possible to reduce EMF exposure. This is particularly important in the bedrooms or when sleeping. We can reduce EMF exposure by keep appliances and devices off or on airplane mode as much as possible. Hardwire internet connection rather than using Wi-Fi. If Wi-Fi use is necessary, only turn it on when in use and turn off the Wi-Fi router at night. Hardwire computer peripherals rather than using wireless or Bluetooth connections. Ensure that your home's electrical wiring is done properly to minimize EMFs. Keep electronic devices, cell phones, tablets, and computers away from your body. This includes using headphones to make calls instead of placing the phones near to your ear to speak. Sleep away from circuit breakers or large appliances that run overnight, including if the appliance is on the other side of the wall. Use protection tools such as defender pads under your laptop, EMF shields for cell phones, filter out dirty electricity using electricity filters. Okay, so I got that one's called "Is EMF Exposure Really a Big Deal?" Wellness Mama. Okay, so if you want to go there and get that, there's another one. So let me repeat that: Is EMF exposure really a big deal? Wellness Mama. And there's another one, frightening frequencies, the dangers of 5G and what you can do about them. Okay, so basically this document goes in, right? Similar. It says we're just going to look at understanding EMFs and their behaviors. Okay, and right, it says there, protect yourself with an EMF shield to mark and protect you from hotspots. Try a patented product that neutralizes the harmful effects of mobile phones and other EMF emitting devices on humans. So you can get these diodes, for example. You can get these diodes that basically absorbs the radiation or it deflects the radiation. Anyway, let me continue. It says, whenever possible, limit your exposure. Use an anti-radiation headset or speaker mode while talking on a cell phone. Refuse to use 5G phones and devices. That's it. If you don't use it, don't use 5G. Right? Just don't buy 5G. Don't buy into it. Alright, so that's full stop. Just don't buy into it. Right? And just discourage those you know from doing so. Refuse to buy anything smart appliances, smart heaters, etc. Shut all that stuff down, innit? Carry shungite crystals to protect yourself from radiation. I think some people would know about this who study crystals. Crystals are natural elements that have certain healing properties or have certain remedy effects for you. Okay, so we need to look into that, but you can get shungite, spelled SHUNGITE crystals. No matter what, do not get a smart meter. These put high levels of 5D radiation right in your home, right? And there are laws. You can refuse them. Just refuse them. There's information out there that tells you that you can refuse it. Yeah. Join the growing numbers of dissenters. Get active with them. Okay. Do as the Hawaiians have done and threaten smart meter and 5G tech installers with liability. You can learn how to do that. Spread the word. Please share the article. Okay. And so this one, I'm not going to go into it. Okay, because it's similar because of time. It's called Frightening Frequencies, the Dangers of 5G and What You Can Do About Them. And it's by E-Locks magazine. All right? And the person who wrote that one called Jodie McCutcheon. The person who wrote Is EMF exposure really a big deal? Not sure. Not sure if there's an author for this. Right, no, it's just wellnessmama.com. Okay. All right. So, is EMF exposure really a big deal? Yes, it is a big deal. Okay. And Sayshara saying that without a question of doubt. I'm not wrapping up about that. Yeah. All right. So, let me see if I can look at some articles. Okay. Again, maybe even some videos. What we got here? So look, this is a list of stuff I've got here. Former cell phone company boss blows whistle on 5G coronavirus. Okay, did you get that? Let me see if I can get that up. Yeah, I'm running. All right. So you know, it's not me saying it. Let's see what they're saying. Yeah. So somebody mentioned about these towers. Yeah. Let's have a look at these towers, these masks, for example. So I've got a list of stuff here. Look, former cell phone company boss blows whistle on 5G coronavirus. Soros-funded group says COVID-19 crisis is perfect time to abolish the family. We could look at that. Electromagnetic radiation safety. We could look at that. We have no reason to believe 5G is safe. Scientific American Blog Network. So what I'm saying is, yeah, you're always going to get opposition to anything that's going to be put out there, especially if it's going to be put out there by the government and it's going to be regulated and mandated and all of this stuff, right? There's always opposition. The only problem is, especially with this 5G that I noticed, because I noticed that I've been listening to the mainstream media, right? Yeah, that are being controlled, right? All the people that work for these people, okay, they have to be given a script and they have to follow the script to the letter. It doesn't matter what radio presenter it is, okay? None of these radio presenters or TV presenters are free and independent, right? So they have to follow strict guidelines according to their institution, okay? And basically, to me, it's just a brainwashing operation. Right, you join those kind of organizations because you don't have a control. None of those radio presenters and TV presenters don't care what you want to say, who they are, how big they are, how much money they got, whatever they're saying. Yeah, they're not allowed to say what they want to say. Right. Yeah, so they have to follow a particular script and agenda. So when they're ready to push out their agenda, they push it all day, every week, for months sometimes. Recently, it was global warming, climate change. Now, to me, global warming, climate change, tell me, right, something that's going to happen in 10 years and all of this stuff, to me, that's not good enough, right? That stuff is, to me, it's all a load of baloney, right? And maybe when we get time, we'll go into this whole thing. To me, it's all a hoax, global warming, climate change, okay? And it's been a distraction away from something like, in fact, why didn't Extinction Rebellion talk about 5G being rolled out? Why didn't even mention it? The mainstream mentioned that, you see, they're all working for the same group of people, right? And they use deception, right? They get both opposition. Sometimes they'll get control both opposition to deceive even more, right? So sometimes you can't just trust people demonstrating and protesting and campaigning because they're agents for the state. They're not working for the best interests of the common law people on the planet Earth. Right? So you're getting these people, they bulldoze their way. So forget about mainstream media. I'm sick of them. Right? I've seen the differences. I've seen how they frame people up. I see how they... And you know, good people, they assassinate good people's characters, right? And the characters they should assassinate, they don't assassinate. Yeah? In fact, yeah, these people get a platform, right? And I see that they shut down anybody that doesn't follow their agenda or their status quo or their narrative. Plain and simple as that. I'll debate you on this anytime. Anybody who wants to get debated about that, bring it on. right? So anyway, you need to know and understand the dark and seedy, sinister side of what goes on behind the scene, what goes on behind the veil, the curtain, right? So anyway, it says there, articles I'm talking about, we have no reason to believe 5G is safe, right? That one's kind of interesting. Then we've got county councils seeking views on 5G as part of Spotlight. Devon News Centre. This is interesting because if you go into Devon's got a system where their council, you can go on their line, for example, right? And you could talk about 5G quite freely. It says there, county council seeking views on 5G as part of Spotlight review. And they do online questionnaire, which is still available. They got comments on county council seeking views, okay? And it's kind of interesting what some of them are saying. It says common law court presentation on 5G and lawsuits against the UK government. Now look at this, okay? Because I've you know, when I was studying 5G, I saw the information. I saw that the government was going to be taken to court over 5G, right? I saw that information. So this was a while back now, yeah? So I've had to go and dig it up again to see if I could find it, okay? And it was a little difficult, but I found it, yeah? And now, if you want, you can go to what they call the commonlawcourt.com /CLC underscore cases. Anyways, if you tap in Willie Mercer versus Theresa May and Nikki Morgan, okay? That was when former Theresa May, Prime Minister, okay? So there's a couple of documents. If you go to www.devonnewscentre.info, right? Or Devon County Council, right? I'm trying to get you to see what I'm talking about, right? So you see that the government was taken to court over 5G, but you see they kept that quiet. Us, right? But it's interesting that there's quite a few comments that can, you know, connect you or link you up to things that you need to know, right? And yeah, there's lots of things that we can learn from that, right? But I know there's a lot of people. I want to pick up those people that campaigned, demonstrated, made people aware, and shared the knowledge and information around the harmful effects of 5G and the consequences. Okay, because like I said, you know, we can say, oh, short term, yeah, this is lovely, great, right? But what about what's happening long term? Think about that. Because people need to think, really, really think about what's going on out here, you know. Because it's going to affect us. It's going to affect our children and the future generation. The decisions that we make today will affect our future of our children, right? And to me, the most ultimate price that we have to pay and sacrifice is to protect our children by any means necessary, by all cost, right? That's non-negotiable. Yeah? All right, so you can go there to, again, like I said, Devon County Council or www.devonnewscentre.info, and you can find the links. You just scroll down, just look, just search, look around. You can see things, isn't it? Right? And you see that there was a lump. It's interesting because you have to download. It's a PDF document. So when you open it up, it downloads. You know, you can open it straight away, but you can download it as a document, right? All right, so a lot of people have been demonstrating about it, but it's just that the mainstream media in this country is dumbing all that stuff down. Anybody, they don't even debate it. Not even one debate. And we're talking about, oh, China's repressive. What are you talking about? We don't think that we've been repressive here as well, that the government is deliberately repressing information. Right? And that's why people don't, I'm saying not everybody, because a lot of the people are following the mainstream media, like the Pied Piper. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and they're going nowhere but leading themselves into nothing but total confusion and a disorientation of a way of thinking. Right? Because you're not having free thoughts. They want to control your thoughts, right? So, okay, so you can go there. I'm not going to read this, okay? I'm saying to you, I know people have done things, innit, to prevent this thing from coming out. But it looked like to me, common law, it looks like the common law courts, they just ignore it. They ignore the common law court. The government, and I think, and maybe, I'm just saying this, okay? Maybe they got rid of Theresa May because of this, because she got took to court, right? And she lost the case. That government lost the case, and maybe that's why they brought in Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson was brought in, because remember, a lot of these leaders are selected for a particular role or assignment or task they have to carry out. If they don't carry out this task or assignment or agenda that's been given, they just get rid of them. Politicians, prime ministers, presidents are two a penny to the ruling class, the elite. They're just two a penny. They'll take them out, buy them out, sell them out, whatever. Turn them inside out. Do you get what I'm saying? All right. So here, we got... Let me see if I can wire you up now. Let me see if I can wire you up to something that you need to hear. Let's see if that's going to happen. Right. So somebody mentioned about these masks being taken down. Yeah. Which is true. Right. So if we go to this article, coronavirus is 5G. Now this is... There's websites out there now. They're just focusing on 5G and all of this stuff. Okay. And that's fine. Yeah. And some of them, you might think that they're really extreme, far-fetched, and delusional, right? But they're saying this. It's called coronavirus is 5G. If you want to tap it in, it's by tapnewswire.com, right? So I'm only just really relating to what people are saying, but I just wanted to know if to give you evidence that people were actually protesting and demonstrating around it and campaigning and the petitions. There's even petitions out there. There's still petitions out there, right? All right. It says there, I've just received a link, and it says there, cities around the world unite for global protests against 5G technology on January the 25th this year. Activists around the world joined together to protest the dangers of 5G technology. So while you had Extinction Rebellion over there, remember what I said to you about the magician with the, one hand you can see, the other hand, the invisible you can't see. That's why they say that magicians, they got tricks up their sleeves, right? This is how your government's playing you, shafting you, right? Running game on you. Yeah? Right? So they'll advocate some things, right? They'll advocate some things and promoting some things, right? And debate that and challenge that and question it and have it on radio and TV all day long, blah, 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 till you're sick of it, right? And then they make sure they barrage you with all of this stuff, right? That's how the narrative is. You've got to accept that narrative. They're not interested in it. Even when they did the global warming, climate change thing, yeah, people that wanted to debate them weren't allowed to come on their platform to debate them. So you're getting a one-sided narrative, a one-sided story. It's just coming from the mainstream government, and they cahoot and collude with whatever institution, whatever organization, right? Whatever group it is. They have to basically comply to the status quo, right? The agenda, whatever's top of the agenda, that's what you've got to follow. when they're putting out their agendas. Okay, they're not interested in ordinary people and what they're saying. So what was interesting, I'm not going to read all of it, okay, but what was interesting is that every country was involved. A lot of countries all in Europe and everywhere was involved, mainly. Look, right, all the European countries were involved, right, and some African countries and wherever. Yeah, I can see Kenya, but yeah, I can see Bermuda in the Caribbean, right? So, there's a mixed bag of mainly Europeans there. But it goes in and said, according to the Stop 5G International website, in the days leading up to the global day of protest, activists will deliver copies of the international appeal to stop 5G on Earth and in space to local governments in hopes of raising awareness about the concerns surrounding the technology. The 5G space appeal is a statement signed by a reported 191,753 signatories from 203 nations and territories. And this is a quote. We understand scientists, doctors, environmental organizations, citizens urgently call for an halt to the deployment of the 5G fifth generation wireless network, including 5G from space satellites. 5G will massively increase exposure to radio frequency radiation on top of the 2G, 3G, and 4G networks for telecommunications already in place. RF radiation has been proven harmful for humans and the environment. The deployment of 5G constitutes an experiment on human life and the environment that is defined as a crime under international law. And that's the same kind of case that was brought to the British government. But it was under common law. The deployment of 5G constitutes an experiment on humanity and the environment. It's an occupational hazard to individual exposure, too much exposure, enough exposure, all right, okay. But I think, to me, we're going to be saturated with so much radiations, right? Yeah, that young children are going to get sick. Maybe it might even start in the womb with all this radiation, because we're going to get saturated with radiation, and that's going to be killing us softly, right? Roberta Flack, right? Or Lauren Hill, if you like the update version. So there's another part in this article that was kind of interesting. Yeah, this bit here. About the amount of equipment. So look, right here. Yeah. The organisers state that their concerns are focused on the apparent increase in radiation as a result of a massive increase in cell towers and small cells which are necessary for 5G to operate at full capacity with low latency. Instead of cell towers every few miles, there will be a cell tower, small but powerful, in front of every third to fifth home. Instead of 2,000 satellites orbiting the Earth, listen to this, there will be shortly be 50,000 satellites orbiting the Earth. Right? So I'm looking at this and I'm going, raw, 50,000 satellites orbiting the Earth, right? And it's using electromagnetic wave technology, right? We don't know what, I mean, they're already talking about the 6th generation, right? 6G and 7G. I know China's already working on the 6G. They're working on it, right? But I'm thinking to myself, how far is this going to go, right? Now, I think they're using these different technology, as I said before, that these are silent weapons for quiet war. Initially, all inventions, innovations, all forms of science creation, the military gets first choice or first option or opportunity to be able to access that innovation or invention or creation or ideology. in military industrial complex, that's where it all starts from. And they've got the, when it comes to building on top of developing any type of system, you can't beat the military army. They get the most funding, okay? Because what happens is that a lot of countries are competing against each other. It's still a rat race to see who can get the best weapons. Let me see if I can get this call properly. Jumbo.
Yeah, Sayshara. It's me, it's Burchak.
Burchak, yeah, what's happening?
Yeah, about this technology and about this radiation thing. Now, I never knew, and you read it much more better. King Lion read it before with HDTV, PDTV, and the ways it sounds, the frequencies and things. And even when you switch off, no matter how much you quarantine yourself with, these things that they pump out, the chemtrails that they pump out of 5G, 6G, and all these, 4G, 5G, it's making people very sleepy, you know? Every time I come back home, I see that I feel asleep quickly, which I wasn't in 2010, 2009.
Yeah.
Now, what's happened is these frequencies seem to make me look like zombies, you know, make me feel asleep very quickly, and I wasn't like that before. Could it be because of these things that people are feeling sleepy as well? Because there's a lot of problems with people as well, and they feel sleepy. Even the food we eat, we don't even know it's radiated or not. No?
Good point.
Well, we don't even know what is radiated. I mean,
Well,
everything that they pump out.
Well, look at it this way, yeah? Judging by the signs of it, if they're going to have 50,000 satellites orbiting the Earth, okay, and they're all going to be kitted up, so what's going to happen is that they're going to beam down these radiations, all right, down to Earth. This is what I'm saying. I'm just alluding to something maybe that we need to look at the bigger pictures, obviously, okay? What's taking place here, or what could be the cause and effect, or what could be the consequences of how far this thing can go, right?
Also, there's major consequences as well. They want to sit people at their homes now, the internet now. All the things are going to be internet. Shopping, what you do, what you don't do, what you say, everything. Everything is going to be internet. So can you imagine for those people who do business, how much they're going to get radiated, how much they're going to get, you know, because now it's all internet. So you want to buy a CD, you want to buy a song, internet. And all that is going to be radiated. No matter what, they're going to get people addicted to internet. So can you imagine from your home now?
Maybe that's part of the reset with the 5G coming in, with the Internet of Things, right? Because maybe the only way they can do this thing and make it work is to make sure people are at home using their computers, right? So the only way to test things, okay, or to test the infrastructure, right, is get everybody in their houses, right? And maybe that's when they can test it to see. I don't know, you know, how they're gonna transition this whole thing, yeah. But maybe, you know, people using the internet now and stuff like that can help them to kind of work out how they're gonna move this 5G thing, yeah, into people's houses.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's like controlling. It's like they want to take control over your whole life. Everything you do, everything you think, like it's like controlling you. And well, I feel that even though years ago I was falling asleep like this, people weren't, but now children are going to get hurt and radiated. People are going to, not radiated, but they're going to have these effects. And people are going to feel sick. I mean, I can see it now, right now, in my belly when you talk about it, that I feel it's like, it basically says that I'm I can feel sick with all these 5G, 5 things that are coming out I wasn't feeling sleep before. So, I mean, there's people out there right now. I mean, people's moods are changing. You know, I've seen it. They just want to go back to their home and internet. And they've been telling people to work from home. I can imagine the work from home is going to be worse. You know, no break, no thing, just work from home. Do you know how much radiation they're going to get in their eyes, or the eyes are going to be tired? And so, you know, it's going to be very, very tough. And especially they'll bring out 7G and 8G. That's going to be even bring more radiation. Some people say that these things have caused the virus to come out, you know, and we don't know. You know, birds have been they've been lying on the floor, you know, being hurt by these waves and frequencies.
Yeah, because it will. It will affect plants and plant life and animal life. There's no doubt about that.
But you know what? They also, so before I do go, I'll make 2 points. They lie to people. You know the earphones that we used to do thing, yeah, that you would turn up very, very, very loud. And they said, look, we're going to minimize that. The politicians said we're going to minimize that because it's so loud, people can't hear each other and this and that, and it could hurt people's brain. They minimized that for a while. They belly twisted, and now they're bringing out earphones, wireless earphones, that people can turn out 24 hours and so loud that it could destroy your brain. And there are people out there that are turning up, and it includes me, includes others. So they lied, they turned, they've manipulated the people, and they're doing it. You know, so this is what they're doing. So anyway, I had to go. I had to leave it at that. You know. And
No worries.
if anyone wants to call up and thing, because I know you don't have a long, show, you know. But keep up the good work, okay? I'm gone. Peace. Bye. I'm out.
Thanks. All right. So, I don't know if you can hear that. Hold on. There it is. Right. Just listen to this for a second, yeah? Right, it's really low, isn't it? Right. Okay, Sayshara's in the house still. I'm going to thank Burchak for his deduction. Okay. Right, let me see if I can find the volume for this. Let's go back. Alright, so I'm just trying to line you up, okay? There's this video here, alright, where a telecom worker destroys a mosque. Okay, this is in America, and it's a massive fire.
You're listening for very radio.
Alright, okay. Anyway, that, I don't know why, but it's not coming up very loud, so let me just stop it. Alright, so basically, just like the texter was saying earlier, Macwan was saying earlier, basically, there's people who are actually taking down the mosque, right, and various equipment. Now, what people need to do is look out for these equipment and identify the equipment and what people need to know what is the equipment. I think that they're just still rolling the stuff out. So look for roadworks, anything suspicious, okay? So I don't understand why it's coming out low. I don't know why it's coming out so low. Maybe you can hear it loud, but I can't hear it. All right. So okay, so you can see what happened is that there's some telecommunication engineers out there. They know about this stuff, innit? Right? What I'm saying is there's people on the ground that work in various industry that should have inside knowledge, or they can be potential whistleblowers, okay, that can expose all this stuff that's going on out here, yeah? And that's what's happening with this telecom worker. He destroys cell towers to warn public, okay? And literally, it's just going up in smoke. I think there's quite a few of them that they seem to be quite easy. These masks, they're easy. Now, another thing that I need to mention very quickly is that you can get these EMF meters, right? Electromagnetic wave frequency meters, okay, to detect radiation. You can get meters to detect radiation. You can get meters to detect anything, any type of gas as well, or of certain forms of gases, I should say, yeah, and certain things that are hazardous or dangerous. Okay, you can test it, right? So there's testing equipment to be able to do that. So it's not too expensive, right? But it's a very good tool, and you'll be able to test the radiation in your house, around your house, and anywhere. You can take it anywhere with you. It's portable, right? So, maybe people should need to look at that, right? So, one story that's kind of interesting. There is another story, okay? Let me go to that quickly before the time runs out, because I really don't have that. I can't go through everything, man, I'll tell you. All right, so I'm trying to keep it as tight as possible, yeah? So I can get as much information. So Soros Funded Group says, this is really interesting, okay? Also, Soros Funded Group says COVID-19 crisis is a perfect time to abolish family. So why are these people saying these things? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can go and get that. This is on same tapnewswire.com. I'm not going to read all of it, but they got an organization called Open Society Foundation. Funders of Open Democracy, provided by the organization itself, shows Soros leftist Open Society Foundation among the top givers, along with other outfits that fund progressive causes like the Ford Foundation. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of different philanthropists. They got nothing better to do with their money, than help to manipulate the system. I think some of them are being given impunity to do whatever they want, as providing that they follow the agenda or stick to an agenda, right? So they're allowed to do whatever they want, and they can get away with it. Doing whatever they want, good, bad, or evil, right? So you got a lot of philanthropists with a lot of money funding all kinds of manner of things, okay? So we got to look out for that. But in this article, it just shows you that they see this as an opportunity, right? And they're saying they want to abolish families. Why would you want to say that? Yeah, look, in an article last week titled, this is, look, April the 2nd, 2020, Baxter Dimitri, right, posted by Gordon, right? It says there, the coronavirus crisis shows it's time to abolish the family according to Open Democracy, a George Soros-funded non-profit organization which is attempted to use the pandemic to destroy families, arguing that we deserve better than the family, and the time of corona is an excellent time to practice abolishing it. All right? And then it goes down to say, in an article last week titled, the coronavirus crisis shows it's time to abolish the family. Open Democracy's Sophie Lewis calls for an end to the traditional family unit and tries to convince readers that the COVID-19 pandemic is precisely the time to liberate themselves from the nuclear household. Lewis claims that too many homes today are defined by the power asymmetries of housework, and that land ownership, mortgage payments, and patriarchal parenting are bad for our health. Wow. And it says Lewis goes into claim that queer and feminized people, especially very old and very young ones, are definitely not safe in such capitalistic situations. So these people are getting ideas. Some of these ideas, man, you got to look at them, man. You know what I'm saying? So they want to break up home. So look, it goes on to say, also, it's interesting, Emperor COVID has no clothes on. This is a diagram. Mass unemployment, 3 billion under arrest, house arrest, martial law, troops on streets, enforced vaccinations, economic crash, never to recover. This is the answer. Digital money jackboot on the neck of all citizens, leading to all civil liberties gone, total control of all people, no cash. All right. So it says there the COVID epidemic is 100% fraud viewed recently. Exposing the COVID-19 covert operation gets more important every passing day. Coronavirus false flag viewed recently. Peter Hitchens. There's powerful evidence this great panic is foolish, yet our freedom is still broken, and the economy crippled viewed recently. Yeah, I listened to Peter Hitchens, and funny enough, he's not normally a person that you want to listen to because he's bang on about, he keeps on droning on about immigration, all of this stuff, right, as a problem. But he kind of, what he's saying, Peter Hitchens, I think he's a columnist. I don't know. He gets about. He's on TV, radio, and all of this stuff, right? But anyway, Peter Hitchens is saying that it's over proportional what they're doing and the actions that they're taking. The government actions is drastically over the limit, or it's kind of over the top, really, to say the least. Yeah. All right. So I just want to play one. I've got 10 minutes. Wow. Let me see now if I can just get this going, and then wow, I'll be out of here, innit? I think if I can get this going. Don't know. The last time it wasn't playing. The last time I was trying to get it playing, so I had to go to YouTube and get it. So let me go to YouTube. Let me see if I can go to YouTube now, right? So, yeah, so YouTube been taking down certain videos, yeah? Dr. Rashid Buttar, Buttar, they took down his he's doing a series of videos on the COVID-19 virus, and they took that one down, and that was the one that has something to do with working at the correlation of 5G switched on, 5G being switched on in that country, and the correlation with COVID-19, the symptoms, and the illnesses and the deaths and things like that. Yeah. All right. So let me see if I can get this up and going now. So, all right. So, where is it? Not sure it's gone now, isn't it? Wow. Oh, I just thought. Right, where is it gone? Yeah, it's disappeared now, isn't it? Wow. Alright, so I thought I had that. Okay, so not able to play that. So let's see if I can find some other way of playing it. Let's see if it's gonna work. Alright, so where are we? So let me go back to. I need to go back to the article. Okay. So. No. No, I'm still there. So we've got to go to 5G. Right, coronavirus is 5G. And let's have a look. Right, here we are. So, wow, it's difficult getting this one up as well, you know. It really is. It's not happening at all. I think they took that one down now, you know. I think they took it right down. It's not here now, it's not here. Yeah, they took it down. Alright, so this is what they do. It's come up anyway. Ex-Vodafone boss on 5G COVID-19 viewed recently. Yeah. So if you want to type that in, you might be able to get it. Alright. So for some reason it's just it will play, but it's just a bit slow. But I got a funny feeling they may have already took it down in such a short space of time. But you can download the MP3 audio report. Okay. So what he was saying is kind of interesting, and it goes along the lines that he's saying. John report. I've just completed 3 audio presentations about COVID-19. They're available. Link. Let's see if I've got to click the link here. The creation of a false epidemic with John Rappaport. Okay, so no. So like I said, more and more information is coming out every day. Right, I'm just gonna jump to. I can't get that video up for some reason. I thought I had it. I feel like you know, sometimes when you moving around things and stuff like that, sometimes you feel like, oh, you've been manipulated. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, I know I set everything up, so I know where everything is. Then when I'm going to look to see where it is, it's not there. Look, they did. Wow, have they deleted it? Look, I come up. Look, it's got here deleted. Yeah, it looks like they deleted it already. Wow, man, damn. All right, so no problem. Okay. All right. So what other stuff have I got? Okay, that I ain't gonna be able to run through, but I was gonna touch on the vaccines recently. Bill Gates did, and this is all over the internet. Bill Gates funded the Pre-Bright Institute, which owns the patent on coronavirus. Bill Gates calls for a digital certificate to identify who received COVID-19 vaccines. Right. I wanted to look at those things. I obviously I'm not going to be able to have time to go through it. And you see all these people, they're all involved in it. They're all going to try and find a way to censor certain types of information that's out there. But like I said, I'm unfortunate to get the Vodafone CEO manager to give us any information around the relationship between COVID-19 and 5G. So maybe you can try and find some way to source that information yourself. Right there. All right, so I think I'm going to be winding down. I think I've gone through as much as I possibly can in the space that I've got, time I've got. Sorry, I apologize for anybody who's trying to get through. I think the phone was upside down. There's nothing wrong with the phone, okay? It's just me. All right, so this text says can't hear anything. Hold on. Right, okay. So what's this? Not sure what's going on there. What's this video? Alright, so I'm 520, can't hear anything. Also sneaky, they've changed the 4G. Okay, so alright, so yeah. So Bill Gates funded the Priority Institute, which owns a patent on coronavirus. You can go and get that information. All right, and then again, like I said, Bill Gates is all over the place, isn't he? Yeah. So now he's talking about a digital certificate to identify who received COVID-19 vaccines. Okay, so Bill Gates recently stated on Reddit that digital certificates will be used to identify who received the upcoming COVID-19 vaccine. And these certificates would also be used to identify who can conduct business or not. All right, and then it gives you a plan backed by a massive organization called ID 2020. All right, so basically, too much stuff to go through, not enough time again. All right, so what I want to say, peace be with you, your family, your loved ones. Just want to say, yeah, thanks for taking the time out. All right.
For Africans here, it's not healthy for us to stay here all winter. That's a real problem for us because we need intense sunlight all of the time. And the darker you are, the more vulnerable you are by staying in dim areas of the country and not getting adequate exposure. So I have found ever since I healed myself of cancer in '86 that I cannot stay here through the winter. I actually feel the strain and I feel the dipping into my reserves of energy. So I just go to the tropics where I was indigenously born and created to be and get sunlight.
Original. 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 Original.